Ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not...
Ow!
Hedwig!
Don't you know me, Kansas City? I'm the new Berlin Wall. Try and tear me down. How did some slip of a girly boy become the internationally ignored song stylist barely standing before you?
Damn, handsome. I can't believe you're not a girl.
Looks like we got some sugar daddies in the house. You could give me a cavity, honey. Now you're interested, huh?
Inch, not itch.
Intrigue. It is clear that I must find my other half. But is it a he or a she? Can two people actually become one?
The dark turns and noise of this wicked little town.
One day, in the late mid-80s, I was in my early late 20s.
I never knew that woman before that night, and I never knew she wasn't a woman.
I've got a sweet tooth. Songs exploded out of us. We were outgrossing monster trucks in Wichita. When it comes to huge openings, a lot of people think of me. I had tried singing once, and they threw tomatoes. So after the show, I had a nice salad. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, both of you. Did you put a bra in a dryer? Yes. How many times do I have to tell you? You don't put a bra in a dryer. It warps. Okay, everybody.
Put on some makeup. Suddenly I'm this punk rock star, and I ain't ever, I'm never turning back.
Hey, boy, take a walk on the wild side.
Hedwig and the Angry Inch!
When I think about all the people I have come upon in my travels, I have to think about the people who have come upon me.
Welcome to Movie Umpers. My name is Bob Sham.
I'm Angela.
The sounds here may be dogs, and this is our last episode for our second annual Movies Are Gay theme. What a journey we've been on all month long. And for our last stretch, we're kind of going out on some ones that we just want to watch, talk about. For the last two movies we're discussing, we're pretty familiar with them. And this one, I believe this is our first musical.
I think so.
With this movie, I saw this movie, me and my buddy, Chip, he might listen to this episode because I know he likes this movie.
Hey, Chip.
A long time ago, 2001, we went to the movies. We went to go see Ghost World. That was what we were excited to see, and we liked that movie very much. But we decided, fuck it, let's do a double feature. And we saw this poster for a movie called Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Didn't know a damn thing about it. And we went in and we watched the movie. And as much as we did like Ghost World, we probably had more fun watching this movie that came out of nowhere for us. And this movie did not make its initial budget upon its release, but it is a movie that went on to become very influential, very well regarded, would lead to bigger things and a bigger legacy from the movie. And of course, we're talking about the film Hedwig and the Angry Inch from 2001, directed by John Cameron Mitchell, written by John Cameron Mitchell and Stephen Trask, starring John Cameron Mitchell, Andrea Martin from SCTV, Michael Pitt, Miriam Shore, Stephen Trask, and others. And the music, the songs are written by Stephen Trask. I saw on Wikipedia it said he lives in Lexington with his husband, but it's wiki. I'm not sure about that. But Lexington, not too far from where we are. Maybe we can go ride up on a horse at his house.
I saw this movie sitting in a very small dorm room in Williamstown, Massachusetts when I was there for a summer theater, like I was scene painting on summer stock. This girl who was with me loved this movie and had brought it with her and had brought a cassette player or DVD player. I don't know if it's a VHS or DVD at the time. It could have been either because it was 2002.
At that point, they were still putting out VHS.
And so she had brought that with her because she was such a movie person. She couldn't go anywhere without her movie. So she brought her stuff with her.
Pop quiz. You won't know the answer. You know what the last ever VHS print movie was? It's A History of Violence, the Cronenberg movie.
Interesting.
The last ever VHS
Wow.
produced.
A bunch of us had never seen it. And she invited us all over to her room that night, and we crowded in this little tiny dorm room on her little tiny dorm room bed and watched Hedwig and the Angry Inch. At that point in my life, I was 22 years old. I felt like it was the greatest movie I had ever seen. In that moment, it was so impactful for me.
It's still really fucking good.
It is still one of my favorite movies of all time. This is a movie that I have literally been in love with. And I don't say that lightly. I mean it. I do love this movie. I love the music from this movie. It has been literally half my life. I am 44 years old. I saw this first when I was 22. This is a movie that I listen to the soundtrack at least once a week, probably.
Wow.
Still to this day. I love it.
You were singing along to most of the music as we were watching.
I was trying not to do that too much because I didn't want to be annoying. But it's just so good.
So you might have an initial coming in with a strong biases in terms of your final rating here.
That's true, but I tried to watch it.
You have products here.
I do.
Not since our ET episode are you throwing out our product endorsements.
So one of my friends
Endorsements. It's not
got me this.
No, you got merch
in New York.
When she wipes her face off and hands it to Tommy Gnosis.
Yeah, so I have this souvenir. I did not get this myself in New York. I have seen multiple versions of this show live, but never in New York.
Oh, I just also want to say that my camera quality is off for those that are watching on YouTube. It looks like I've been filmed on a Nokia. It's because I'm having issues with my apps.
It looks like you sent this video from 2002.
Yeah, it looks like I recorded myself the same year this movie came out.
You know, the stage version of this is very much just Hedwig and a band. That is the musical. And in taking the musical to the movie, they were able to flesh out so much more. But this musical came about from John Cameron Mitchell and Stephen Trask performing in hole-in-the-wall clubs.
Squeeze Box. Apparently Stephen Trask ran the music or had a lot to do with the music that was being played here. And yeah, I guess they built from there and it became...
They workshopped it for a long time.
Yeah.
In the stage play, Hedwig plays all the parts. Basically is doing impressions of these different characters while telling this story, aside from Yitzhak.
Yeah.
Yitzhak is the only other actual character in the show. Even Tommy Gnosis, Hedwig plays. And in the movie, that carries through because John Cameron Mitchell sings all of the Tommy Gnosis songs.
People switch roles by the end of the movie, essentially.
They do. When they decided to make this film, they really thought about casting someone else as Hedwig. Having John Cameron Mitchell direct the movie of someone else being Hedwig, they found their Tommy Gnosis. Obviously, John Cameron Mitchell couldn't play both of those roles, even though he does sing both of those roles.
Michael Pitt, yeah.
Michael Pitt, very young Michael Pitt.
Is Michael Pitt doing the singing on his... Yeah, I didn't think so.
No, it's John Cameron Mitchell.
Oh, even on the Michael Pitt. I thought maybe it was either Stephen Trask. But I somehow knew that Michael Pitt is not actually singing in this movie.
Mm-mm. He's definitely not. He does a pretty good job lip syncing it, but yeah, no, he's not singing anything. As they thought about it and tried to work towards it to find someone else who could play this role, no one else could play this role in this movie. It needed to be John Cameron Mitchell. This is the definitive.
It's hard to imagine it any other way.
And no one could, and it wasn't going to work.
You literally developed the character on stage. It seems just like an exercise in pointless humility, and it's your movie, it's your idea.
Well, he was being told it's going to kill you if you do both. Because he's in every scene.
Yeah.
You know? He's never not on stage, and the costumes alone are insane. And he did. Like, he was exhausted. But at the end of it, it is something that will exist forever. And yeah, I know you said, and yes, I do come in with some biases because I've loved it for so long.
Sure.
But I really did watch it thinking about how it's put together, the way it's cut, the way it's edited, the way it's acted. And honestly, I wouldn't change a single thing about it. It is so well
done. No, absolutely.
done.
The cinematography is great by Frank G.
The
DeMarco.
tiny little moments. There's a moment where she's singing on the 9th stage at the Menzies Fair. And the way that's cut, you know, there's one goth chick with a black umbrella watching. And the way that Hedwig says the line about...
At 26, my academic career was over. I had never kissed a boy. And I was still sleeping with Mom.
And it cuts to just this girl's mouth and she smiles.
The band, Hedwig and the Angry Inch here, they're playing... It's apparently a... Bilgewater's seafood restaurant or some shit.
It's like a buffet situation.
But apparently it's a chain.
Yeah.
And the chain happens to be in every town, and they're following the Tommy Gnosis character's band, who is huge. Like a tremendous star on songs and concepts that Hedwig created. And we get into
Either
their story.
Hedwig wrote them or they wrote them together.
But the Bilgewater restaurant has never had a better act in their whole life.
Don't you know me, Kansas City? I'm the new Berlin Wall. Try to tear me down. I was born on the other side of a town ripped in two. I made it over the Great Divide. Now I'm coming for you.
I don't even need to see the rest of the band.
They're not set. A lot of them are not set up to have a band.
And what,
my favorite one is where they're playing around the salad bar.
And what I love and how people react to Hedwig and the Ink, because this is a good band with good songs, but it's not played up like it, they're played up to where they're undiscovered but not unappreciated, because everywhere they go there are people there, maybe not many, that seem to appreciate everything that they do. They have fans, they have loyal followers, and I love that perfect touch. Instead of playing up some joke where it's like no one's going to see this band, and not a lot are, but this idea that this band is going to fucking rock this salad bar harder than it's ever been, and no one's going to appreciate that.
As they go, there's more and more, and then there's one scene where there's actually like a bunch of them wearing the Hedwig like styrofoam wigs. It seemed to me, at least, that when they were playing in bigger cities, there were even more of her folks.
When we meet this band, Hedwig is in a relationship with Yitzhak, who is
they're married.
And Yitzhak's a very good singer, and you could tell Yitzhak is being played by a woman, but it's not a transgender character. Yitzhak is supposed to be a man, and Yitzhak craves the spotlight that Hedwig wants. Hedwig will walk in and Yitzhak's just staring at her wigs and shit. But then we get into the history of Hedwig, and Hedwig grew up in East Germany. A lot of people are scrambling to go into West Berlin. Hedwig's mother, then Hansel, sticks Hedwig in a wheelbarrow and actually crosses to go to East Berlin. And that's where Hedwig grows up, listening to Armed Forces Radio. Hedwig meets this American GI, a large black man, and
Luther.
Girl, I sure don't mean to annoy you. My name is Sergeant Luther Robinson.
My name is Hansel. Luther is silent for a moment as he stares at my little bishop in a turtleneck.
This hits very different after watching Fassbinder movies. It's a sugar daddy, and it coaxes her with Western candy. They end up hooking up, and they go to Hedwig's mother, or Hansel's mother, and they both decide, and this creates a bit of resentment from Hedwig to her mother and this man, of course, who ends up leaving her when they get to the States. But they are going to get married, but she has to be a woman. Hansel has to be a woman.
Because they have to get married in East Berlin.
So this is a more of a coaxed transgender surgery that gets botched.
Yeah, it's a hack doctor.
And what happens is they cut off a lot of their shit, but it's botched. So Hedwig, as described to us, has basically an inch-long lump where her male genitalia used to be.
And a scar where they cut her to create a vagina, but it sealed back up.
When I woke up from the operation, I was bleeding down there. I was bleeding from the gash between my legs. It's my first day as a woman. Already it's that time of the month. But 2 days later, the hole closed up. The wound healed and I was left with a 1-inch mound of flesh. Where my penis used to be, well, my vagina never was. It was a 1-inch mound of flesh.
And this is why the band is called Hedwig and the Angry Ant. Quite a sad story, but Hedwig grows up listening to Lou Reed, David Bowie, T-Rex, all the glam rockers of the 70s.
And the doo-wop girls.
That's what inspires Hedwig, and a little punk element in there as well. When Hedwig crosses over, they get to the States, and her man just leaves her for a twink boy. Hedwig is resentful of her mother, but she feels awkward within this world that she pined for.
There's also this extra bitter aspect where the wall went up the same year she was born. The day that Luther left her, the wall came down.
All border crossings are reported to be wide open, and thousands are flooding into the western half of the city to celebrate their newfound freedom. The Berlin Wall has fallen, and the world will never be the same. The Germans are a patient people, and good things come to those who wait.
If I had just fucking waited a few months, I could have just left.
Hansel later becomes Hedwig. Hedwig is her mother's name. Her mother rigs up her passport and gives it to Hedwig, so Hedwig is carrying her mother's name after the point of her forced sex change.
Yeah. There is a cut scene that explains how Hedwig and Yitzhak get together, and they do talk about it in the stage show, but it just doesn't really work in the movie, and so they took it out, but it is on the DVD, where Hedwig at some point has gone back to Europe and is trying to start a singing career there, meets Yitzhak, and Yitzhak is performing in drag, singing beautifully. And Yitzhak goes to Hedwig after their performance and says, "Take me to America with you. When you go back, take me with you." So they get married, but Hedwig's thing is, you can be in my band and I will bring you to America, but you will not outshine me. Hedwig actually saw this person and was like, "You're doing what I want to do. And so, yeah, I'll help you, but I'm going to fucking squash you." And she kind of squashes Yitzhak's dreams like hers have been squashed.
Yeah, rips up Yitzhak's passport.
When Yitzhak wants to go on the Polynesian tour of Rent as Angel.
That turns the band on Hedwig because she's getting peak obsessed with the Tommy Gnosis. We also get the background of Tommy Gnosis was this 17-year-old kid named Tommy who was a Christian kid.
Military dad.
And I guess Hedwig he's a little old to be babysat.
There was a baby. She babysat the baby. That great scene where he's got the bathroom door open and he's jacking off in the tub trying to get her to notice. And she notices, and she comes into the bathroom with this like really long cigarette, and she lays the baby on the floor, steps over the baby, leans down, and gives him a handy in the bathtub, and then throws her card at him.
In Pink Flamingos, we had a baby laid on the floor there as well.
We sure did.
This is what the last week's all about. Hedwig's like 10 years older than Tommy at this point, right?
Yeah, Hedwig was 26 when she met Luther, so yeah, she's probably about 27 at this point. So yeah, solid 10.
Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior?
No, but I love his work.
You know, what he was saving us from was his fucking father.
Fosters a relationship with Tommy. It becomes more about music and cool things and talking about all that. And Hedwig, they write a bunch of songs. They have concepts together. There's concepts that Hedwig talks about, I forget if it was Plato or something, the concept of people used to be all merged into one, and then the gods split them up. And
yeah, the Origin of Love song tells
which
that
is
story.
A big theme throughout, and that plays into the sense of identity and how people come together, what that means when you're together and what that means when you're alone.
And then fire shot down from the sky in bolts like shining blades of a knife.
I mean, all the songs here are great. Stephen Trask wrote some fantastic music for this.
And there's beautiful animations in this film.
And I think the tonal balance of stage performativeness and actual linking into those glam rock roots, the balance is really, really good there, I think. Tommy, they had to have spent a lot of time each other to work on all of these songs together.
I'm sure by the time it's over, he was 18.
So they start to make out, and Tommy fills into Hedwig's skirt. and discovers the angry inch down there.
This scene guts me every single time, even though I know it's going to happen, because they're in love. They've been together for, like you said, months, if not a year at this point. They've written all these songs. They're performing all this stuff. They're starting to get more popular. And Hedwig talks about how they've never kissed. There's this scene where he pulls her through an unending amount of laundry that's hanging in her small RV, which I think is a beautiful scene. He's like pulling her through all these clothes. She's smelling them. These things are happening. And then he says, breathe through my mouth. And they start kissing. They're breathing and kissing, and it's gorgeous. And then, yeah, she sticks her hand down there, and he immediately is like, I think my mom's probably wondering where I am. And she, like, she, in that moment, like, does not cater to him for the first time, and is like,
My mom's probably wondering where I am. Such a fucking sissy. You are such a sissy! What are you afraid of? Huh? What are you afraid of? What? I love you. I love you. The love the front of me, honey.
like, if you want to be with
She
me, you
calls
have
him
to
a-
love the front of me.
She calls him a sissy because he's cisgendered.
Yeah, that's why.
And so Hedwig's band is falling apart. We got the origin of Tommy Gnosis, who took all that stuff he learned from Hedwig and has become a huge star. And this is like early, like 1990, 1991. There's one point where it comes in on Hedwig finishing a song. And she's like,
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, both of you. That song was by Mr. Kurt Cobain. Now that kid's got a future, huh? How about Kwang Yi on guitar, ladies and gentlemen? Give it up, Kwang Yi! Give it up, Kwang.
There's so many good lines in
there's
this.
just a lot of good jokes, a lot of nice layered details, a lot of little small actions that they do within. There's so much to look at, especially when the performances, you can zero in on each member of the Angry Inch and they're just doing something strange.
It's so good.
They did so much for what they had. It almost seems like this thing could have had twice the budget that it did.
Andrea Martin as the manager is delightful. She's so good. I mean, she's Andrea Martin. Of course, she's fantastic. The part where, like, you're right, they're starting to kind of fall apart. Yitzhak wants to leave. Andrea leaves her because when she rips up the passport, she basically picks up Yitzhak and looks at Hedwig and is like, you don't need my help anymore. Because at this point, Hedwig has just become a bitter, mean, nasty person. She can't see anything good in her life because all she can focus on is the fact that Tommy Gnosis stole...
Hedwig is hooking. The
Yep,
band
a
is
few
falling
weeks later.
apart. And a limo pulls up, and it's Tommy Gnosis. But Tommy is surprised when the door opens, and it's Hedwig. I don't think Tommy knew that was going to be Hedwig. That he was just rolling up looking for a transgender prostitute.
But he does reach his hand out and say, come with
pull
me.
her in, and they relive their good times, and they sing songs together.
And they end up kicking out the chauffeur, and Hedwig starts driving, and they're riding down the road singing, and they get to the part in Origin of Love where it says Osiris.
And Osiris, the gods of the now.
Wait, did you say the Cyrus?
No,
You just sang the Cyrus on that recording.
the Cyrus, with Cyrus the god.
There's no god called Cyrus. It's Osiris. It's an Egyptian god. Remember we read that book?
We had two
Song
versions
together.
of that song.
One version
No,
of
we
the
had two
song,
versions
and you
of that
fucked
song.
it up.
Yeah.
They start kissing. And the thing is Hedwig stops looking at the road because she's making out with Tommy.
And then they crash, and then the tabloids find Tommy Gnosis here with a transgender prostitute.
The limo lady.
And it sinks Tommy's career, but it helps give a platform to Hedwig, and then it comes to reveal what she had been doing, and she starts to finally become the star, and Tommy falls. So there's a point where they go back. It's like a reuniting of the band. And this is when Hedwig then pulls off all the wig, all the stuff, and becomes Tommy. The fame that she always wanted, the notoriety. What Tommy had gained was really what should have been hers. But she passes the wig off to Yitzhak. Then it cuts to Yitzhak, full on drag. The energy transfer, the power, which is a big theme and throughout this movie, transfers And I guess does Hedwig become Tommy from here on out? Does Yitzhak become Hedwig from here on out?
So the way I've always thought about it is Yitzhak becomes Yitzhak. Yitzhak is no longer under the thumb. She is now able to blossom and be herself. She is kind of on the side. Hedwig finally said, I'm not going to hold you back anymore. You deserve to have your own happiness. The thing about Hedwig and the whole thing about the origin of love and the two different parts of a person that have to come together to be happy, Hedwig's always been looking for the other person to complete her. What happens in that scene is she strips away the wig and the makeup and the dress and is then standing there basically in like a little pair of shorts, natural hair, does have the Tommynosis cross. But what that symbolizes to me, the Tommynosis cross literally symbolizes knowledge. And, you know, when she gives him the name, she says gnosis means knowledge.
Right.
And she gives him that name and draws that on him. And it like changes something in him. It's like she's given him this gift of this talent, like completely, right? Because he hits this note he could never hit before. He has the confidence. Hedwig, for the first time, understands that she is completely okay on her own. She does not need someone else to make her whole or complete. She is her own person. Everything that she put into Tommy, everything that he did, she was capable of. She had all of that in her already. You know, she doesn't need this other person. Then it kind of does this kind of, it's almost like a dream sequence where Tommy is singing on a stage alone to her. Tommy has a tattoo. They talk about, you know, Eve being pulled from Adam, because there's this whole thing of, you know, the origin of love, like people split apart, always looking for their other half. Eve being pulled out of Adam to create a companion for him. And in all these moments, he's singing this like reprised version of Wicked Little Town saying, I'm here for you, don't need me. There's nothing that you can find that can't be found. You're the one that has never been yourself. You're always looking for someone else. You're always upset with other people, but it's you that is broken, is what the words are saying. And at some point, I love this moment, he stops singing and the music continues. And again, it is Hedwig's voice. And he just mouths like, I'm sorry, and walks away. So in that moment, she has let go of him. She has let go of Yitzhak. She is bare down to who she is. And this is when her tattoo of those two parts literally changes into one face, because she is now her. And it's this moment of like, it's this moment of rebirth where she's completely naked walking down an alley. And that's the end of the movie.
That makes more sense.
I told you, this is a 22-year-old love affair.
This is kind of your movie. Truly. Where this is almost a softball for you.
There's not a single second of this movie that feels boring to me, no matter how many times I watch it.
Hedwig and the Angry Inch from 2001, directed by John Cameron Mitchell. I feel like this movie is a conceptual lightning in a bottle, right? And I think the influence and the legacy of it speaks to that. I'm not big on like musicals, but there are not many rock musicals that are maybe more perfect and more realized than this one. Give it 1 through 5 each, combined for best out of 10. I think of its type, it really is pretty top. So I'm going to go 5.
5.
This month, we've popped it. We've got a few S-tier movies to add to the rankings after this month. And Hedwig and the Angry Inch joins the S-tier ranking from 2001. It sits between the movies Heat and In a Lonely Place. 2 other movies I enjoy very much.
Yep.
And there you go. That does it for Movies Are Gay. Movies will stay a little gay as we go into war movies, Our Glory and Propaganda, starting next week. Movies are always a little gay.
Always.
There's always a gay residue on all movies. Even those super Christian ones that have the guy that played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ. Those movies are maybe even like extra gay residue on those. Anyway, one last time as we're going to go. It's going to be Glory and Propaganda starting next week, just in time for the 4th of July. That said, I hope you enjoyed this month. It's one of our favorite annual topics. And, maybe we'll hit up some actual gay movies before next year, so we can not always just limit them to a month. But it is, I do enjoy this month quite a bit.
We definitely will be talking about a couple of gay movies towards the end of this year.
All right, we do have a musicals month coming towards the end. So, yeah, movies are going to get real gay again very soon. But they're always a little gay. Always a little gay. That said, stay gay.
Movies are gay, and so are you.
Wang Yi on guitar, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up, Wang Yi.
Give it up.